What's going on, Bottom Line viewers? It's Mitch here of the Bottom Line View, back with a Thursday night football recap. This one was between the Carolina Panthers and the New Orleans Saints. Carolina takes it 23-20 over the Saints at home. Both teams now advance to 4-6 in the NFC South. This game was a lot different than I anticipated. I anticipated a higher scoring football game. I anticipated more big plays from both passing offenses, but instead we got a more defensive football game, which really the difference in this game was turnovers and special teams play. And Carolina, at the end of the day, along with their home field, definitely helped them get this victory 23-20 over the Saints. They started off this game, Carolina did, up 20-3 going into the fourth quarter. Looked like they were going to, sail to a victory. But at the end of the day, the Saints actually made a comeback and made it tight. The Carolina Panthers had to convert a late third down play where Cam Newton hit Kelvin Benjamin for the first down. Just absolutely beautiful throw from Cam Newton. Just great catch from Kelvin Benjamin. High point the pass and just caught it, brought it down, got crushed in the process, but brought it down for the first down, and that was the biggest play of the game for the Carolina Panthers. But there were many other big plays, not really offensively though. Most of these big plays that won Carolina the game were on defense and were on special teams. Defensively, the Saints did force an interception on Drew Brees, which was a really bad pass. Drew Brees was 35 for 44, very efficient, 287 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. I thought that the Panthers did a really good job of keeping everything in front of them, not letting up any big plays. They really didn't let up almost any deep balls in this game and tackled well. They were great in pursuit on defense, and they looked closer to the defense that we saw last year for the Carolina Panthers, playing some good solid zone coverage, Tampa 2 on their defense in the back end. But Drew Brees was still able to, when he needed to, pick apart the defense. Very efficient, only had 9 incompletions and 44 attempts. But Carolina on the other side, very inefficient in the passing game. 14 for 33, 192 yards and a touchdown for Cam Newton. He was sacked twice, but he was under pressure on a lot of these passing plays, and that was really the reason why Cam wasn't able to get, those big plays that he usually is accustomed to. So 14 for 33, 192 yards, not the greatest game from Cam Newton. He didn't really do much on the ground either, 5 rushes for 7 yards. And back to Drew Brees, that interception was very costly for the team because it was a double coverage interception. I believe it was in the Saints' end, and it was just bad. He was throwing off his back foot. He was under pressure. It was kind of just a forced pass and a bad error from Drew Brees that you don't usually see that often. On the ground, though, this was the reason why the Saints were able to make their comeback. There were 12 rushes for 69 yards for Tim Hightower, and earlier in the game, Mark Ingram only had 7 rushes for 28 yards with a 4 yards per carry. But when Hightower was mainly the main back there, he was 12 rushes for 69 yards, so a 5.8 yards per carry. He did have one long 27-yard run, which set up a touchdown drive to, I believe it was Brandon Coleman, and that was the play that really got them back in the game. And, you figured maybe the Saints can make a run at this. Also, big injury in this game. Luke Kuechly got injured. Mark Ingram also got injured. It seemed like Luke Kuechly's was a little bit more severe, but both of them went out and didn't come back in. So that's something to monitor. Also, the fact that Luke Kuechly was pretty sad and pretty down on himself when he went into the locker room. He was tearing up and was kind of sobbing there for a bit. Wish him the best, as I do Mark Ingram. Both great players, both very important to their football teams. Brandon Cooks also ran for 2 carries, 7 yards. The receiving wise, Michael Thomas had 5 receptions for 68 yards. A lot of that came at the end of the game. Actually, 2 catches came on the last drive, which really resulted to nothing because he had a screen catch, I think, for 20 yards, which ended the game off. Didn't really do much there. Tim Hightower had 8 catches for 57 yards. Mark Ingram had 3 for 47. A lot of screen passes to the backs from New Orleans really trying to take advantage of that soft zone coverage because they were very backed up, Carolina's defense, and they were trying to just get some blocks downfield. Often didn't really work. They had a couple of plays that did work, but on third key situations, they tried those same exact plays, and the tackling of Kuechly and Thomas Davis and other players on the Carolina defense was just too good in this game. Brandon Cooks, they tried a lot of short passes to him, tried to get him involved, 7 catches for 42 yards. Willie Snead had 4 catches for 33. A little bit, they kind of utilized him in the slot, going over the middle and stuff. He had a couple clutch key catches in this game as well. Kobe Fleener had 3 catches for 19 yards and a touchdown. This guy was rather invisible for most of the game, or he was visible because he was making a bad play, a penalty, a drop pass. His real only good play of the game was that touchdown catch, and it was a perfect pass by Drew Brees, by the way. Drew Brees certainly had his spots defensively for the Saints. They did not get an interception, but they did force 2 sacks. Ellerbe was really good, I thought, in this game for the Saints. He had a sack, he had 4 total tackles, and just caused a lot of pressure. The Saints sent a lot of blitzes with their linebackers, trying to get those 5-on-5 matchups with the offensive line. And I thought Ellerbe was more often than not breaking through and trying to get after Cam. He played very well. Sterling Moore was okay. He had the most tackles here for a defensive back, 5 tackles. Robertson had the most tackles on the day for the defense, 9 tackles. But really, nobody really stood out for the Saints defense, not in a bad or good way. I would really say, though, that the Saints defensive line played very well. Guys like Nick Fairley, Kruger, who's a situational pass rusher, played pretty well. Cam Jordan definitely made his fair share of plays. So their defensive line really got after that offensive line of Carolina and kept them in the game for much of the evening. Then for Carolina, on defense and offense, offensively, receiving-wise, they really did a good job on Greg Olsen. He only had 4 catches for 33 yards. Ted Ginn, 3 catches, 46, and a touchdown. Huge play. That was probably, the biggest offensive down-the-field type play for both these offenses. Ted Ginn with a great catch at the end of the half to put them up 20-3. Calvin Benjamin, 3 receptions for 56 yards. Of course, he had that huge catch at the end of the game. Jonathan Stewart really did nothing. He had 1.7 yards per carry. Ted Ginn had 1 carry for 13 yards, and as I said, 5 carries for 7 for Cam Newton. So the Saints did a fantastic job against the run, and much of that has to do with their interior line tonight. Defensive-wise, Kuechly was all over the field when he was out there. He had 14 tackles in this game. He did get juked out by Tim Hightower at one point, but otherwise was pretty much flawless. Coleman had an interception as well as 10 tackles in this game. Thomas Davis was good. Trey Boston made a couple big hits. Mario Addison, who is the sack leader for the Carolina Panthers, had 2 sacks in this game and a fumble recovery. And Coney Ely also had a sack on a 3rd down. So this defense did play very well, a lot better than expected, and they're the biggest reason, other than the turnovers by the Saints, that the Panthers won this game. Also, Graham Gano came through in this game. I know that's a big storyline for Panthers fans because sometimes he doesn't. He was 3 for 3 for field goals. And the big play on special teams, Lutz was blocked on a field goal attempt. Will Lutz, 2 for 3 on the day, but he, of course, had that blocked field goal. I think it was from the first-round rookie on the Panthers, and he blocked it. Luke Kuechly picked it up and almost ran for a touchdown. Actually did run for a touchdown, but it was called back because I think Bradbury got the hit from behind, which moved them back and then set up that Ted Ginn touchdown. So that was the biggest play of the game for sure, because that is like a 10-point swing right there. 7 points for Panthers, 3 points for New Orleans. So biggest play of the game goes to definitely the special teams. And if you're New Orleans, you could arguably have just lost 2 games because of your special teams unit. Not only did they have that, but they also had their kick returner in this game, who I think it was Murphy, who touched the ball at the 1-yard line instead of just letting it go out because Gano, kicked it really close to the sideline. So it could have went out, but Murphy touched the ball. So the Saints could argue that they should have won this game if they weren't so dumb especially on special teams. They had a great chance to win this game, especially late. They had all the momentum, and then Carolina with that back-breaking play on 4th down, they still had a chance to win despite all of their errors. They're pretty much the NFC's version of the San Diego Chargers. But, Carolina takes this game. They're now 4-6 in the division. They still have a chance, believe it or not, to win the division here. They are 4-6. They're still last in the division, but they're tied with New Orleans. Tampa Bay could drop another game this week. They have a tough matchup. Atlanta isn't a for sure thing. With their defense and with some tough matchups down the stretch, they're not a sure thing. And Carolina is still fighting in a weak NFC, in my opinion. I think they can still do this and still have a chance if they continue to get some good play. But that key injury is going to be Luke Kuechly, and you're really going to have to look to see how healthy he is because he's huge to the team and the defense. But Carolina, as far as this game, deserved the victory for their play early in the game and for forcing those mistakes. But I feel bad for all you Saints fans who had to go through another bad game from your special teams. The Carolina Panthers take it 23-20. And for you guys, coming up next week, the Carolina Panthers play the Oakland Raiders in Oakland. Huge game there. That should be pretty exciting. I would think that Oakland would win that one, but I would maybe if Carolina gets some momentum from this one, it would be a pretty good game. New Orleans plays at home against LA. They should have that win there. So looking forward, Saints and Panthers are still in it, still fighting for the NFC South. It's Mitch of the Bottom Line View. Hope you guys enjoyed this recap of the Saints and Panthers on Thursday Night Football. If you did, please subscribe to the channel for more recaps just like this on Sunday and Monday Night Football. And predictions, previews, fantasy football tips, all that stuff on the Bottom Line View. It's Mitch again. Peace out.